Good morning and welcome to the DFS Army YouTube channel. I am Razzle11 and you can find me on X at Razzle11Grinds. Going to take a look at some pitching for today, the 30th of April. It is Tuesday. We do have a 12 game main slate. We do not have much for weather worries, um, but we also do not have a whole lot for positive weather for hitting tonight either. Just kind of average, mediocre across the board. Couple things, as always, I would primarily be looking at DraftKings since that's where a majority of my play is. Remember that FanDuel, you can cut your pitcher pool down quite a bit because you do not have to get as wide, and generally the pricing isn't as tight, so we don't really have to look outside of a top handful of guys, uh, unless there's a mispricing in there, which does happen once in a while. And reminder that this is my first look at the pitchers on the slate. I will dig in more as the day goes on and share my findings with the members of DFS Army. So let's dig in right away. At the top, we have Freddie Peralta taking on a Tampa Bay offense that I think we should be picking on with pitching quite a bit. Bryce Wilson shut them down pretty good last night. Looking at Freddie Peralta, K-prop of 6.5 with juice pretty strongly on the over. I'm going to assume he's a pretty strong favorite. Minus 142. I would have guessed he's a little stronger, but the Milwaukee offense has been pretty cold as well. Game total just 7.5. There are multiple games with just a 7.5 total. Even a game with a 7 total tonight. So some decent spots for pitching across the board, it looks like. Hard to not love Freddie. Excuse me, coming off of a rough start, which he has those every once in a while. But prior to that, he's been really good. His one home start was not all that great against Seattle, which is a little shocking because if I remember correctly, his splits last year, he was an extreme uh, guy favoring his home starts. Um, I should probably look into that, but tough to not love Freddie Peralta with the way that Tampa Bay offense is right now. Reynaldo Lopez has looked phenomenal, excuse me, as a starting pitcher. I do think that he's going to hit some sort of a wall, having been a reliever for the last couple of years. But he was at one point a highly thought of starting pitching prospect. This game has a total of just 7. Excuse me. He is a minus 135 favorite. And his K prop is 6.5. Juice slightly on the under, but that's a pretty strong K prop for Reynaldo Lopez, considering he's bypassed that mark just once in his 4 starts. I'm interested for sure. He's had extra days rest for every start, gets an extra day here. Um, it's hard to not love him. And as my mouse dies, so that's fun. Spencer Turnbull, paying 9,100 for Turnbull. That is kind of a excuse me worry for me. K prop of 5.5 though, it's not too bad. Uh, he is a minus 142 favorite. Game total of 8.5, which is one of the higher ones on the slate. Uh, I would say that he's initially going to make my pool, but there's a good chance that I decide to kind of move him out because we have just some other guys here that I guess to me make a little more sense. Jose Barrios has been strong all season, coming off of a not so great start against the same Kansas City squad. Uh, the real reason why it was not so great is just more walks and strikeouts. Um, otherwise it was, excuse me, close to a quality start. I'm not sure why he only threw 67 pitches. I'd have to kind of look. Oh, it got called because of rain. Because he got the complete game bonus. Hmm. Um, but yeah, it was not a sharp start at all. So we take a look. Um, where K prop of just 4.5, juiced really strongly on the over. Barisso's a guy that I've been using pretty much every start this year. I really believe in him. Game total just 7.5 in this one. He is a minus 142 favorite at home. Is yet to allow a run at home this season. Uh, just 6 hits allowed as well. I am definitely more interested in Brios than Turnbull at this point. Probably more interested in Keller as well, even though he has not looked the same as last year's first half. He did dominate Detroit a bit, but like he's just not putting together clean starts. His Ks are kind of all over the place. Looking at Keller, uh, he's a minus 135 favorite. Game total of 8. Matchup that we've been picking on. Um, I know Oakland ended up scoring a few runs against Falter last night. K prop of 6.5. That's a pretty solid K prop. Uh, I'm interested in the upside. I think he just has more upside in this spot than Turnbull does, but uh, those guys are pretty close. The more I look at it, the more I think about it in terms of where my rankings might put them. I'm not really going to use Montgomery against the Dodgers. Really don't want to use Luis Castillo against the Braves. Uh, but maybe we have to consider it with the Braves struggling the way they have. His K prop is 6.5. Pretty strong juice on the over as well. Game total in that game, like I mentioned, with Lopez is just 7. Castillo is a home underdog, but that's a pretty low game total for an Atlanta Braves game. Man, I just haven't been taking pitching against the Braves even when they've struggled. Um, if he does make my pool, you can be sure that the Braves will be in my stacks. Um, I mean, really, you can be sure the Braves will be in my stacks no matter what. That offense is just too strong to continue to struggle. Javier Assad has looked pretty decent. Not really sure what I want to do. Initially he's going to kind of make my pool. He's a slight underdog, but the game total is 7.5. K prop of 4.5. Nothing special. Kind of feel like you can take or leave him, especially at 8,400. Probably initially make the pool, but uh, good chance he's somebody that I move out. I'm not gonna go with Darvish in his return from the IL. Um, I mean, Cincinnati does offer some K strikeout upside, but I'm just not gonna go there. Um, Logan Webb, see him at 8,300 seems really intriguing. He's another one that traditionally is a big home road splits guy, but he has made 2 pretty strong road starts this year. He's thrown the ball pretty well. K prop of 5.5. He's a minus 135 road favorite here. I'm gonna be interested, um, and I think my interest in him is probably going to remove Assad from the player pool, maybe even Luis Castillo. Um, there's going to be a lot of decisions that have to be made today in pitching. I can already tell there's a lot of guys that I'm somewhat interested in, which also means that Turnbull, good chance he doesn't make my pool uh, at all either, which would push Mitch Keller to kind of the chopping block as we go down this list. Uh, I'm a big Mackenzie Gore fan. Uh, Not quite as big as Steve Renner, if you follow him on the X. Um, don't think I'm going to get there against the Rangers, but I want to point out that I think there's a chance that he does put up a strong performance. Um, but I don't think we need to go there. K prop is 5.5 with juice on the over. Uh, I just think there's options that we just don't need to consider him. But especially with Logan Webb, I think Webb's just slightly better in the spot. So uh, I don't know. Thor's one that I'll debate a bit in my head just because I am a fan, and I do think he has upside most times he takes the mound. Shamanai has been all right. Um, the Cubs were kind of shut down by Severino last night. Mania K prop of 5.5, but juice is pretty strong on the under. Like I did mention, the Mets are favored in that game against the Sod. I think I'd rather use Gore as a GPP guy because I think his upside is just much greater than Mania. But most likely I'll be off of Mania as well. Cole Reagans got the complete game win in that rainout against Brios and the Blue Jays. I'm interested, but we did mention the Blue Jays are a favorite in that game. Looking at Cole Reagans, K prop 5.5, juices slightly on the under. Uh, I think he's definitely worth playing over most guys down here. I would consider John Gray a little bit. Strikeouts were there in his 4 2/3 last start. I don't know if his strikeouts are going to necessarily be there against Washington, but um, I think 5 to 6 innings with a W seems pretty likely. So John Gray is definitely going to be an option. K prop of 5.5, but juices on the under. So um, yeah, I'm not sure how much Gray I want to use. I think he's going to have to be in the pool because he does have enough upside. Uh, and first look wise, the only guy down here then that I'm also considering is going to be Simeon Woods Richardson, the one-time top prospect. Traded multiple times to Toronto and then to Minnesota in the Jose Barrios trade. Looked pretty solid in his 2 starts. 1 win, 1 no decision. The no decision came against this Chicago White Sox squad. We picked on him. Joe Ryan wasn't great last night. Simeon Woods Richardson's K prop 4.5, juices slightly on the under, which is a little frustrating. But he's a pretty solid minus 166 favorite. The only issue is game total of 8.5. So, but the Twins have been rolling, so picking up a W is certainly possible. Um, about the only other one that crossed my mind down here would be Alex Wood taking on Pittsburgh, who has struggled a bit. Um, but I'm just not sure I want to rely on Alex Wood, to be honest. Walks are an issue. Not a huge K guy. Does have K ability, just not a huge K guy overall. So there we have it. There's the first look at pitching. If you enjoy what I bring to you, please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, turn the notification bell on. Get the alert anytime we drop videos here at DFS Army. If you want to join us, get access to our coaches' tools, sheets, Discord, etc. I will put links in the description below. You can use promo code RAZ, that's RAZ, for 10% off monthly. And as always, best of luck, everybody.